Good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Gavin. I serve as Chief Communications Officer for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. It is an honor to welcome you all here to the Archdiocesan Pastoral Center on a joyous and historic day for the Church in Philadelphia. In a special way, I welcome everyone joining us on live streaming video. To my left is Sister Kathleen Chapani, one of the many dedicated female religious in our Archdiocese. She serves as director of our Office for Persons with Disabilities and is providing American Sign Language interpretation for us this morning. Thank you, Sister. This morning, you'll hear remarks from Archbishop Chaput and Archbishop-elect Perez. Following, there will be a question and answer session with press. It is now my privilege, one final time, to introduce Archbishop Charles J. Chaput.
Now, how do you know it's the final time? Okay, well, I might be back next week to make an announcement about your job. We're delighted to have Archbishop Nelson Perez with us today. This is a moment of great satisfaction and joy for the clergy and people of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and for me personally. This past Saturday morning, I think it was about 9:30, the Papal Nuncio to the United States, Archbishop Christophe Pierre, called me and informed me that Pope Francis had selected Bishop Nelson Perez of Cleveland, Ohio, as the next Archbishop of Philadelphia. That appointment is official this morning as of 6 o'clock, Philadelphia time, noon in Rome, and his installation will take place on Tuesday, February 18th, which is a very short time from now. I asked for it to be before Lent, because after Lent, after Easter, would be too late, and during Lent, it's not a very good thing. We should be doing penance rather than celebrating. When I first spoke with the nuncio about my retirement and this transition, that was last May, I asked for a successor who would care for and guide our people, speak the truth with conviction and charity, and live a faithful witness to Jesus Christ. Archbishop Perez is a man who already knows and loves the Church in Philadelphia and is already known and loved by our priests and people. He was ordained a priest of Philadelphia. He is a graduate of St. Charles Borromeo Seminary. He's respected and well-liked by our priests, many of whom are his friends. And he served with distinction as one of our pastors before his ministry as a bishop. If you want to know what his parishioners thought of him, and that's the most important thing for a priest, what they thought of him here in Philadelphia, just Google his name on Catholic Philly from July 2012, as he was preparing to leave the Archdiocese for a service as one of the auxiliaries bishops of Rockville Center. He was enthusiastically supported and very well loved by the people he served as pastor, and for good reason. He's a good man, a man of deep Catholic faith, with the skills, character, and warmth that will make him an exceptional leader here in Philadelphia. He is exactly the man with exactly the abilities our church needs. And I'm very grateful to our Holy Father, Pope Francis, for sending him home to us here in Philadelphia. So, my dear brother priests and bishops, fellow religious, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the next Archbishop of Philadelphia, Archbishop-elect Nelson Perez.
Well, needless to say that this is a surprise. Back in 2012, I was pastor of St. Agnes in Westchester. And my last Sunday there before I was named the bishop was actually Pentecost Sunday. And I got up and I spoke very eloquently about how God is a God of surprises, only to find out that 24 hours later I would be eating those words when I was called that I was going to be made a bishop and sent to Rockville Center. Then I was called one day in Rockville Center. I was celebrating Mass in a parish on a Saturday, and my phone rings in the sacristy. I just got into the sacristy, it's filled with people, and there's this little code word that these nuncios use, is, "Are you alone?" And if they say, "Are you alone?" then watch out. So I was told then that I was going to be the Bishop of Cleveland. Saturday morning, I was down in Florida visiting my mom, and about 10 of 9, the phone rings, and it's the nuncio. And guess what he said? "Are you alone?" And I said to him, "Archbishop, you're not changing me again, are you?" And he said, "I'm not." Says, "But the Holy Father is." And I said, "So where am I going now?" And he says, "Are you sitting?" And I says, "Oh, God." And he said, "Philadelphia." And I said, "You're kidding me." I was shocked, just absolutely shocked. Once a Philadelphia priest, always a Philadelphia priest. So the part of me that has that identity inside of me cannot wrap its head around being the Archbishop of Philadelphia. It doesn't compute. But it is what the Lord wants and what the Holy Father wants. When I left in 2012, I never really thought I would be back, though I never kind of left either, right? Because I left ministerially, but I didn't leave humanly. So my closest friends are here. My classmate, Father Gary, is like my brother. This is where I come between Christmas and New Year's. And I was just here, 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So I'm back. I'm back to the church, the Archdiocese that formed me and ordained me and walked with me. And eventually then sent me forth to serve in New York in obedience to the Holy Father. I come back with really a sense of great gratitude and joy to serve alongside great bishops. I know all these guys for like 30 years. Bishop Senior and I were made Monsignors together, baby Monsignors. Bishop McIntyre and I traveled together with Cardinal Bevilacqua. Bishop Delleman is a friend and a mentor. I was his seminarian right here in the cathedral and his deacon. And Monsignor Sullivan, who's sitting there, vicar for clergy, we would stand outside and smoke. Though I don't smoke anymore. And solve problems, right? When I worked in this building, actually, I think it was, what floor was that? The 5th floor. The 8th floor is where I was. So, it's awesome to be back in Philadelphia with people who are faith-filled and people who love the Lord, love the church. So I'm grateful to the Holy Father for placing like this huge trust in me that I really don't deserve. I really don't deserve. I am concerned. I have a great concern. I'm concerned of the shoes that I have to fill. And they're his shoes, Archbishop Chaput's shoes. He was my bishop actually for a very short period of time. He was installed in September, was it? And then in May of that, September 2011, and then in May, I was appointed a bishop and went to New York. So he was a bishop, he was my bishop for a few months, but he's been my brother bishop and my friend and my mentor for a lot longer. For a lot longer. And over the years since I became a bishop, you know, he likes to text and he likes to send emails. And we would communicate a lot like that. And then find ourselves, recently at the Tekakwitha conference this past July, we had dinner together and consider him a great mentor, a great friend. In fact, this cross that I wear, the time I was made a bishop, I came back, I was down in Florida. You know, every time I've had an Episcopal movement, I've been down with my mom and my family. It's really crazy. You know, this is one time is fine, 2 times is a coincidence, but 3 times, you know, it's amazing. And so I came back when I was originally, when I was made a bishop, appointed a bishop, and right after I came back, I went to see the Archbishop in his residence. And the Archbishop, as soon as I walked into his room, he says, "Wait here a minute." You remember that? And he came out with this pectoral cross. He put it around my neck, and he said, "You are now my brother bishop." And he gave me this incredible hug. And ever since then, he's been such a great support. I'm grateful for him in the name of all the people of Philadelphia. And we thank him for his incredible ministry to the church in Philadelphia for the last 8+ years, in Denver, in Rapid City. This guy's been a bishop for how long? 32 years? 32 years, longer than I've been a priest. We thank him for facing the challenges that he had to confront here in Philadelphia with great courage, really great courage and steadfastness. I watched it from afar, learned from him, just watching how steadfast he was, and with profound faith that while things were tough, that God would make a way, right? That somehow, some way, all things happen for the good of those who love God, as St. Paul said. And he did that many times, even in the midst of criticism. But he was steadfast in his love for you and his love for the church. Just steadfast. He did that despite the criticisms, knowing that what actually needed to be done, making hard decisions, but steadfast for the good of the church. Watching him from afar, I saw him make tough decisions. Many times like a father has to do in a family, right? As a father. He made calls that today have placed the Archdiocese in a way better place. And we owe him profound debt and gratitude along with our love. And all who have walked by his side here, the bishops, his administrative staff, and many of you who work for the Archdiocese. But in particular, we need to thank God and praise God for this man. Give him a round of applause. And so I'm grateful also to Archbishop Christophe Pierre. I hope he doesn't call me anymore. For his great support and guidance and patience in my different changes of 2 of the 3 Episcopal appointments in my journey have come from him. And he's been really a source of great friendship and support as well. He's had to deal with my reactions. You know, I don't know what he thought when I said, "Are you kidding me?" But he's been patient with me. I'm grateful for the gift of the priest and religious and deacons and faithful of the Church of Cleveland. Let me tell you, what an incredible church. Many of them, I'm sure, are tuning in right now. Know that I love you. I've had an awesome staff in Cleveland, vibrant priests and bishops, an incredible community of young adults that were a great source of joy for me and will be. And I hope to reach out to the young adults here as well. Needless to say, I am sad to leave the people of Cleveland. I would be dishonest if I didn't say that. They welcomed me with open arms and with great joy, and we walked together. Was only there for 2.5 years. That's what I said to the nuncio. I said, I've only been here for 2.5 years. And all he says, yeah, I understand. I'm trying to wiggle my way out of this thing. You know? So I'm sad to leave them. I can't say that that brings me joy. It brings me sadness because they were so good to me, and I made great friends, and I'll always have them dear in my heart. But now I'm here, and in a sense, in a very real sense, in a very practical sense, I'm home. This is where home was for actually the longest time of more than half my life was actually here. It was actually here. To my brother priest here in Philadelphia, I've been one of you. I never left. You know, I know most of you in one way, shape, or form. Worked with you, walked with you. My brother Cuban over there, known for a long time. As I said, once a Philly priest, always a Philly priest. You carry it kind of inside you. And it's interesting because when I've been back for one thing or another and I run into Philly priests, it's like I saw them yesterday. I don't know if you understand that. It's like you're just part of them. And what wonderful priests we have. Give them a round of applause. Give our priests a round of applause. I look forward to meeting the younger priests that have been ordained in the time that I've been away. Know that I hold you close to my heart. You will be very close to my heart, and I can't wait to see you again as I begin to visit parishes and schools and institutions around the Philadelphia area. Un saludo especial a la comunidad hispana de la Iglesia de Filadelfia que me vio crecer desde que en realidad era seminarista, cuando tenía pelo negro y pesaba 50 libras menos. I just said that the Hispanic community of Philadelphia saw me grow up from my times as a seminarian here when I had jet black hair and I weighed 50 pounds less. Un saludo muy especial a ustedes. Para muchos de ustedes, yo fui y seguiré siendo simplemente Padre Nelson. Right? Many of them just call me Father Nelson. And I've been that for them and will continue to be that for them. Tengo mucho entusiasmo en encontrarme otra vez con las caras nuevas, pero también las caras más veteranas que conocía tan profundamente, miembros de nuestra comunidad hispana. Tengo alegría y entusiasmo de conocer a aquellos que se han unido a caminar a esa comunidad veterana que lleva aquí tantos años trabajando y por la iglesia con gran empeño y con gran pasión, que vienen ahora de tantos países distintos, ¿no? De México, Santo Domingo, son 23 países latinoamericanos que componen lo que es la comunidad hispana en los Estados Unidos y aquí también. Les pido que pidan por mí y les prometo que yo pediré por ustedes. Mi sueño es llevar una visión que enraizada en la visión pastoral del Papa Francisco, de una iglesia, una comunidad de discípulos misioneros que se haga realidad cada día más y más en en nuestra vida, una comunidad que toma iniciativa, una comunidad que se engendra, que acompaña con la verdad del Evangelio, que da fruto y que vive con un espíritu de profunda alegría. In a particular way, I also want to say something to the victims that have been hurt by the church. In fact, by some of our very own. That I and we continue to pray for your healing, and support, that you hold you deep within our hearts, those who have been hurt. Should have never happened, and we are sorry. In closing, I pray for that the vision that Pope Francis presents in the Joy of the Gospel, that wonderful pastoral exhortation of a community of missionary disciples, will be ever vibrant and powerful in the church here in Philadelphia. A community of missionary disciples that he describes as a community that takes initiative, is out in the forefront, is engaged in the world around it, accompanies with the truth of the gospel, is fruitful, and is joyful. And so pray for me, as I promised that I will do for you. And I'm going to leave you with a little phrase that really has become very, and I'm going to ask you to learn it, actually. It's a little phrase that I tell all the young people that I confirm. So right now, at this point, after 7.5 years, is probably thousands of young people that span now 3 states: New York, Ohio, and I've done confirmations in Cleveland as well, and they taught them. And this is how it goes. Never underestimate the power of the Holy Spirit working in you, through you, and despite you. So I'd like you to repeat that with me. Never underestimate the power of the Holy Spirit working in you, through you, and despite you. God bless you.
Thank you, Archbishop Chaput, Archbishop Perez. We'll take questions from the press in just a moment. I'm glad to see many of you here. I know you've been covering this since last night when some anticipation started building. 2 staff members from my office are on either side of the room with microphones. When you're acknowledged, I ask that you wait for the microphone to come to you, state your name, your organization. We have a lot of folks watching via live stream. I want to make sure all the questions and the responses are heard very clearly. So if you'd state your name, organization, and to whom you're posing your question. Archbishop-elect Perez has indicated that he will do one-on-one interviews with each of the media outlets present following the Q&A. So in order to allow sufficient time for that to take place, during this question and answer session, we're going to limit that to 1 question and 1 follow-up question per outlet, knowing that you'll have time for one-on-ones with the Archbishop-elect. Okay? So that being said, we'll get started. Anybody want to go first?
Hi, Matt Hadro from Catholic News Agency. My question is for Archbishop Chaput. Just in reflecting back on your years as diocesan bishop, what are some of the things that you would say that you are most proud of in your time?
I often get asked that question. I don't think that way. I don't think of things I'm most proud of, because if you're honest about these things when you're a bishop, you accomplish very little yourself. I'm proud of things that we have done together. A lot of things that we've done together here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. I think, the new Archbishop was very kind in the things he said about me, and I'm deeply grateful for that. He is a really good friend. But what we accomplished, and it was difficult, was accomplished by all of us together. I'm deeply grateful for my auxiliary bishops, my staff, especially around the issues of sexual abuse and finances. Those were the biggest issues that we had when I first arrived. The financial issues were also involved in the issues about the decisions about closing parishes and schools, which are really very, very difficult things to do. I had a wonderful finance council that helped me with that. So I'm deeply grateful to them. I developed an Archdiocese Pastoral Council, which is composed mostly of laity, but also contained members from religious orders, as well as our deacons and our priests. And it was an innovation for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia that I was very grateful for. But again, it's doing things together, giving me good advice on how to handle the more complicated, difficult issues of the Archdiocese. I'm very proud of our seminary. I think we have the best seminary in the country, St. Charles Borromeo. And, you know, for us to decide together, I mean that the priests, the people, to close the seminary, not to close the seminary, but to sell the seminary property and relocate another area was beyond people's imagination probably 8.5 years ago. And for us to have accomplished that, at least the first 3/4 of it, we've sold the seminary and we're in a process of building a new one, was really an extraordinary accomplishment. But what the seminary does is extraordinary. And I think many bishops from other dioceses know that because they send people to our seminary. So those are some of the things that we've done together that I'm very grateful for. And, you know, I'm going to continue to be part of the life of the Archdiocese. Archbishop Perez says that one of his classmates, you know, when we become priests, we make a promise of respect and obedience for the bishop. And one of his classmates, who's a priest here, said, well, I'm still working on the part for you about respect and obedience. But it's also important for me to understand that he's going to be my archbishop, and I owe him my respect and my obedience. And I do that gladly because I think he's going to accomplish great things for us, but also with us, because the church is all of us working together. And it isn't the history of the church is not the history of bishops. It's the history of all of us together working for the glory of God. So I hope in some ways I've responded to your question, but you know, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what I've accomplished. I'm just grateful to have been the Archbishop of Philadelphia for 8.5 years, and want you all, my staff, to remember that I'm still your bishop for the next 3.5 weeks, and I expect you to show me respect and obedience. Thank you for your question.
Good morning, Bishop Perez, Archbishop Chaput. Matt Gambino from CatholicPhilly.com. Bishop Perez, I wondered if you could speak a word to the lay faithful in particular to perhaps encourage a sense of renewed enthusiasm or rejuvenation, perhaps. A word that you could inspire them as we go forward on this new day.
When I was in Cleveland, I went to do a presentation, a talk at the Cleveland Clinic. Big place, right? You know, really famous around the world. There's a group of doctors and nurses, and at the end there was this Q&A thing, and this doctor gets up, and I think it was a doctor, and says, well, everything that's going on in the world and in the church, do you have hope? Do you have hope? And I remember saying to this individual, I said, I gave my life to a faith that believes that a dead man came back to life. Yes, I have hope, right? And so it's part of my Episcopal motto, actually, trust and hope. And so I have great hope for the church. You know, the church has gone through difficult moments in the last, 2 decades, tough moments, heart-wrenching moments, but the church is still here because the church is Christ. You know, there's the church with little letters. That church comes and goes in a sense. That's us, When we say we are the church, well, yes, we are at a certain level. But we come and go. We come and go. The church, in capital letters, is what St. Paul called the mystical body of Christ. And so the mystical body of Christ has to deal with us and our humanity and the human element and our sin and our scandal and and our virtue and our holiness and everything, all put together because we're complex human beings, and we human beings are a piece of work, but God works through us. And so I have great hope for the church. If not, we wouldn't be here. Despite everything, we wouldn't be here.
Jeremy Roebuck.
Hi, Jeremy Roebuck from the Philadelphia Inquirer. My question is for Archbishop Perez. As the son of migrants from Cuba and someone that has done a lot of work in migrant communities of faith, I'd be curious to hear how you would say your background in that area has influenced your approach pastorally, and how you might envision that playing out here in Philadelphia in your new role.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, at different times, at different places, right? So a lot of my work here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia was very focused for many, many years among the Hispanic community. Then I became a pastor, and the Hispanic community was part of that community, but it was broader. When I became a bishop, both in New York and Cleveland, they asked me the same thing. So how does it feel to be a Hispanic bishop? And I said, that doesn't exist. What exists is a Roman Catholic bishop who happens to speak Spanish, right? And so I'm here to be a bishop of New York, in Cleveland, and now I'm surprised. This is surreal, in Philadelphia, for all, whether you're Hispanic or not. Obviously, I have some skills that I'm able to reach out to the Hispanic community in a particular way because of language and culture. My work actually with the USCCB is actually cultural diversity. I'm the chair of the Standing Committee of Cultural Diversity for the Conference of Bishops, and gain an appreciation that at the end of the day, what distinguishes us always has been that word Catholic, right? I'm Catholic. We're universal. We bring a universality to the world that's really amazing, really amazing. So obviously, and our work with immigrants and raising up the voice for our immigrant community that are suffering. There's a rhetoric at times that happens with our immigrants that's just it's not dignified. And we have to respect the dignity of the human person that has been given to every single one of us by God. Not by any state, not by any government. Our dignity as human people is given to us by God, and it is the role of the state and the government actually to protect our dignity and to protect our rights. And so we have to pray for our immigrants. At the end, there is no one here in this country that didn't come from someplace else except our Native American community. No one. And my parents came from Cuba. Part of my mother's family came from Italy and Spain, and we're all, and that's what makes this country beautiful and powerful and a great expression of humanity.
Archbishop-elect, thank you. Mark Abrams from KYW News Radio. A couple of months ago, Archbishop Chaput was speaking at a forum at St. Charles Seminary about what the future of the church in Philadelphia might look like in terms of buildings and structures, et cetera, and suggested that he's going to leave quite a bit of decision-making and burdens relative to the future of a lot of these buildings and parishes that have seen dwindling numbers and financial issues. Are you prepared to make some of the tough decisions that you said that the Archbishop had to make over time? And I mean, there's a lot on your plate right now, or about to be in the next couple of weeks.
In the next couple of weeks, not yet. Isn't changes a part of life, right? And we have to adapt to the world around us. We do it ourselves, right? So there was one moment, I think there was about a half hour in my life where I fit in 32 waist pants. Lasted for about a half hour. Never happened again, right? And so you adapt, and for the good of the people, and for the good of the church, and so you have to sometimes you have to make tough decisions. Yes, you have to make tough decisions, but that's part of life. People do that in their lives all the time, right? You guys who are married and have families, and you adapt, you change, because it's all about the wealth of the life of the family, not just its structures, right? It's about mom and dad and the kids and your family and what's best for the family. And so you make decisions. So yes, decisions have to happen. And I don't have problems making decisions when they have to be made. I do them consultatively, right? Because this is not about me. It is not about me. It's about us. So yeah, those things could come. What they are, I don't know. I really don't know. I've been away for 7.5 years. You know, lots of things have happened. So that part of it, I don't know. But in both ways, we might have to open places too. I just don't know. We'll do what needs to be done for the good of the family, right? He wants me to say, I still owe him a respect and obedience. Well, always.
Anyone else? Mark Abrams, you can use your follow-up.
Thank you, Mark Abrams, again. For Archbishop Chaput, you...
Oh, see?
Mark, we're grateful for the coverage you've given us over the course of the last 8 years, so thank you very much.
And thank you for your courtesies as well, Archbishop. We appreciate it very much. You indicated to us that you will probably stay here in retirement. Can you open up the window as to what your retirement plans are, where you might be, and what role you see yourself still playing within the Archdiocese?
Well, I'm going to be moving from my location, my residence at the seminary, to St. Edmund's home, which is a home for special needs children. It's in Rosemont, I believe, on the edge of Rosemont and Bryn Mawr. Some of our assistant bishops have lived there over the course of the last many years. So that's where I'll be living. I am a priest of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia since becoming the Archbishop here, and I'll be retiring as the Emeritus Archbishop of Philadelphia, not of any other place. So this is home. This is where I'll be living. Now, I hope to take the first 3 months off without doing very much at all, except reading and cooking, in addition to praying and celebrating Mass. And then after 3 months of figuring out what retirement is like, actually, I intend to start assuming responsibilities again, doing what the Archbishop asked me to do. But also, I have quite a number of people ask me to give talks and retreats and things like that, and I'll begin doing that kind of stuff. But not for 3 months. I'm really going to take the first 3 months off and try to do very little in terms, I like not to have anything in my schedule so I can be more spontaneous with my life. Is that enough? I really don't know more than that, so.
Okay. All right, before we close, just a few final things. Archbishop Chaput, you've been a selfless and dedicated servant leader to this archdiocese for 8.5 years, often under very difficult and trying circumstances. Please know how grateful we are for all that you have done. Archbishop Perez, you're well known and much loved in Philadelphia already. We joyfully welcome you home and know that you have many gifts to share with us as you shepherd this flock. We have great hope of all that will be accomplished during your time here with us, working together with priests, deacons, men and women religious, and the lay faithful. And you have our trust. Welcome home. So thank you all once again for attending this morning. Have a great day. It's an historic one. God bless. Take care.